And we are returning to our top story now, the death of Malachi Subek. And joining me is Children's Commissioner Judge Francis Ivers. Francis, I want to start by getting your response to the investigation into Malachi's murder. The Ombudsman has described it as a litany of failures by Oranga Tamariki before his death. What did you think of that report today?
Oh, kia ora, Rebecca. No, I agree with the Ombudsman and welcome his report and its recommendations.
Well, what is wrenching, I suppose, for so many of us about Malachi's death is that people were trying to help him. His cousin complained and it went nowhere, Francis, and now we have a review and an apology. But the system needs to change, doesn't it? This is just another case that highlights that.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. The system does need to change, and what's highlighted in this report is the system when it comes to reports of concern. So has whānau made a report of concern? The way the law is at present and the systems that support it is that a social worker receiving that report of concern makes a judgment call based on the evidence before them whether or not they take it to the next stage, which is an investigation. And that's what did not happen in this case. And what needs to happen, in my view, as Children's Commissioner, is that every single report of concern should be reported and the law should reflect that.
Francis, does this case highlight again, I suppose, why that independent external oversight is needed for Oranga Tamariki? It's lost the trust of New Zealanders, hasn't it?
Well, it's always a terrible thing when a child is killed at the hands of a caregiver. You do have to look at the facts of the case, and yes, independent oversight is required, but the fact is that this is a system and a process fix which, in my opinion, would be relatively easy.
And so, Francis, from your point of view, what needs to happen now within Oranga Tamariki?
Well, we're talking here about reports of concern. So someone is concerned about a child's care and safety. Anyone in New Zealand could ring Oranga Tamariki and say, I'm concerned about this child. I'm concerned because of X, Y, Z. The social worker then makes an assessment. Now, they receive thousands of these calls every day, and they then decide on what's before them, whether or not they will investigate it. In this case, as I read the Ombudsman's report, they'd spoken to the mother. She had supported the child going to her friend. The uncle and aunt had sent through a photo. That didn't seem to be mentioned, so that's a failing that the Ombudsman talks about. But based really on that evidence, a decision was made not to investigate it. What would be more appropriate and what should happen, in my opinion, Rebecca, is that every single report of concern should come in and then go straight out to a site where the child is, because social workers in their communities know their families. They know the people. They should have, say, a 5-day turnaround where they talk to the family, they see the child, they talk to the child if they can, they make investigations of agencies or say the child's at school or, as in this case, at a daycare, and then form a view and then decide whether it should be more fully investigated. I don't believe that a decision as to whether or not a child is at risk should be made just on papers. It needs a face-to-face meeting. It needs, at least for the child and the people around that child, to be spoken to.
Well, that is the Children's Commissioner. Thank you so much for joining us here on 8 o'clock.
You're welcome. All Māori.